I've made this beef stew so many times. I think I've memorized it by heart now. The funny thing is that I was remembering back to the first time I started cooking, which was not until college, actually. And I have this memory of standing in my kitchen wanting to make something similar, some kind of soup or something that involved chopping an onion. And I just realized I knew how to chop an onion. And that was because I had watched my dad do it for so many years growing up with him. My dad was a chef. And even though I didn't start cooking on my own until, like I said, college, I had these visual memories of watching him cook and watching how he chopped an onion. So I just thought today about filming this video, and maybe you can watch how I do it and see, because sometimes following a recipe, it's not, you can't see how someone's doing it. You need to watch someone cook. I think so. I mean, that's why obviously cooking shows are so popular. But anyway, I I like how I do this, and I like how I use an Instapot for it, and I also use my cast iron pan here. I think that there's nothing better than the cast iron pan for browning the meat. So that's what I do. I start out with just the basics. I've got the gold trio. I think it's called the golden trio, which is carrots, onion, and celery. And I do have those browning in the Instant Pot, or I will in a minute start browning those in the Instant Pot. But like I said, I like to brown the meat on the cast iron skillet, and then everything comes together really in the Instant Pot. So it's super easy. You can follow any recipe for beef stew. And that's pretty much it. And I also like to add tomato products and herbs and spices. But yeah, it's so easy. Anyone can learn this skill. this is the most important step, is getting these brown bits of flavor scraped off of the pan. We're adding water here. This will make or break your soup, even if you mess everything else up. If you just do this, the flavor will be so good, nothing else will matter. This will make your soup be so rich, so flavorful, so good just by browning the meat and then adding water and scraping up all the bits, everything on the bottom of the pan here. Just get it all up. Keep the fire going, keep the water on, and this is it. This is the secret sauce here. So we're not really even browning the meat for looks. Honestly, the look of the meat in the soup, no one will be able to tell if it was browned once it's all broken up. We're doing this step for the flavor. Also, you need to brown the onions for the flavor. That's also important. That browning creates a good flavor. And between that and this process here, it's going to add these levels of richness and depth. And then we add tomato paste, which is another level of bringing a richness to the broth of the stew. And lastly, I like to use 2 tablespoons of this organic beef bouillon. So it's adding richness, and I guess you could call it umami, is what Japanese would call it. So yeah, and the Worcestershire we added earlier. This is just going to be so good if you do these steps. How's the soup, Grandma?
Delicious, sweetheart. Did you make it?
Yeah.
Of course.
Whenever I let the rabbits out, they always perch on this rock. Like a scene from Lion King. Hey, Benny. penny. Welcome back to the kitchen. So tonight I've got an easy dinner. I threw some chicken thighs in the oven with just some barbecue sauce and crisped them up pretty nice. And I think we just did a side of corn this night. So I splurged and decided to make my biscuits from scratch. And this is how I do homemade biscuits. I've followed a recipe for, years now. And she was the one who said to grate your butter with a cheese grater. And once you do that, you just never go back. I think you can even do it with frozen butter. That might actually work better. I haven't done that in a while, but I'm just doing it here with refrigerated butter. And that's it, folks. I mean, this isn't rocket science. I think I made these things in like 10 minutes. And it's just such a fan favorite, such a crowd pleaser. I highly recommend it. You know, I know people like to buy those canned or canisters of what are they, like crescent rolls and biscuits, and they pop open. And it's funny, once you do fresh butter like this, you just can't go back to those. Like, those are just, they're not as good. Like, it's so good fresh. So yeah, I have it down to a science here. I don't mess around with getting my counters dirty. As you can see here, I'm putting everything out on a piece of parchment paper, and that's it. You also want to make sure you don't knead the dough too many times or overmix the dough. You really want there to be like chunks of butter in there, because every time there's a chunk of butter, it creates a flaky layer. So the recipe I use says not to knead the dough like I'm doing here. I'm kneading it literally like 10 times, maybe 12 times, and that's it. And then I pat it out. I don't mess around with cookie cutters or mason jar lids or any of that, which you'll see. And yeah, that's it. I mean, 10 minutes couldn't be easier.